If you're currently struggling with your waiter's tray serve, then this video is going to help you so much. And if you're a coach and you're looking for new ways to help your students come around on edge rather than pointing their strings up in the air, then this video is also going to help you. Look, there's no doubt about it. If you're serving and your strings are pointing up to the sky as you're going up toward the ball, it is really going to limit your level of play. It's going to be very difficult to hit spin, and you're also not going to be able to pronate, which is actually the fastest way to move your racket through contact. So getting rid of the waiter's tray position and getting the racket on its edge as it approaches the ball is going to be vital to take your serve to the next level. So I'm going to give you a few simple tips. The first one is going to be stop hitting flat serves. When I give Zoom lessons, and I give about 11 Zoom lessons a week to players all around the world, we meet live on Zoom, they send me videos of their technique, and I do an analysis live with them, answering their questions. It's really awesome. If you want me to do a Zoom lesson with you, just go to my website, 2minutetennis.net, and you can sign up. When I ask players who have a waiter's tray serve what type of serve they're trying to hit, 99% of the time they say, oh, I'm trying to hit a flat serve. And that 1% of the time they say, I wasn't even thinking of what spin to hit. So the idea of hitting flat serves or hard serves kind of goes hand in hand with this waiter's tray position. So I want you to change up what you're trying to do. And I want you at first to really think of hitting slice. Just the act of thinking, oh, I'm going to cut the ball and I'm going to slice it, rather than have the strings face up and hit flat, is going to help you to get rid of this waiter's tray serve right off the bat. So in your mind, try to cut the ball, and you can see this ball here. See how that ball curved out wide? Just the act of thinking, I'm going to cut the ball rather than hit the ball, will get you in the mindset to get rid of the waiter's tray. Here's the second idea, the grip. Now, you probably know that the right grip is a continental. This is where you place the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad on panel number 2. But that sometimes isn't enough to help players make that grip change. Here's a nice little tweak you can use. Instead of having your racket straight up and down, or having the strings point down, which is a result of using a forehand grip, I want you to start with your racket slightly open. As a right-hander, that means that my strings are facing slightly up to the left. So I'm actually going to set the racket angle, and you can do this the next time you're out on court. I'm going to set the racket angle with my non-hitting hand slightly open, then grab onto the continental grip. By having the racket start slightly open, you are encouraging your hand to hold the racket correctly. One of the most common mistakes I see players use on the serve is that they use a forehand grip. And the result is that the strings face down. If you've ever seen somebody bounce the ball with their strings like this before a serve, they've got a forehand grip. Well, what happens is coaches around the world correctly tell their students to use a continental grip. So then the student holds the racket with a continental, but then their brain says, hey, we got to have our strings pointing down. Did you know that when you change the grip on a serve, you're actually not changing so much your hand position, you're changing the racket position. That's actually how you can look across, 8 courts, and know what grip someone's using. You don't look at their hand, you look at where the strings are pointing, because as you change the grip, the racket face changes. So start your serve with a racket face that is slightly open. Watch the pros, most of them have an open racket face. That's a result of the proper grip. So having that idea, open racket when you begin, is going to help you use the correct continental grip that actually helps you to hit that slice serve. Here's the next idea. I want you to practice with a ball in the throat, starting with your strings pointing down so that the ball can sit in the throat, circling and drawing a circle. Oh, the ball fell out. Having the ball stay in the throat of the racket in a complete circle. Now, the way I'm doing this is to actually bring my elbow forward, and you can see that I'm turning my body. So the ball fell out again. I got to do a better job. These Yonex rackets don't have a very big area for that ball to fit in, so I'm going to blame it on the racket a little bit. I know you can tell that my strings are pointing down the whole time. The strings pointing down as the racket passes in over the head, kind of like that thing that I'm famous for with knock off the birthday hat. When you keep your strings pointing down enough that a ball can sit in the throat of the racket, you're learning how to be the opposite of palm up, or the waiter's tray. The waiter's tray, or palm up position, is your palm facing the sky, strings facing the sky. So by placing a ball in the throat of the racket, and you can do this right here with me now as you're watching on your couch, I want you to just move the racket in over your head with your strings pointing down. Now I want to show you something really simple when it comes to the wrist. A waiter's tray serve places your wrist in extension, where the wrist is laid back. So if we want the opposite of a waiter's tray, then we need the opposite of wrist extension, and I want you to have slight wrist flexion where the wrist is curled over. So when you make this move, have your wrist slightly curled over. It's going to feel very foreign if you're someone who goes into the waiter's tray, but that's a good thing. It's supposed to feel different. The only way it can be correct is if it feels different. So my wrist is slightly curled with my continental, and that's when I'm going to draw a circle to get rid of that waiter's tray. Now, this is where we get to learn the last idea. This is something that I started having my students do a few years ago. It's incredible how this changes a player's serve instantly. You know, if you think about it, a tennis racket has two sides. So we're used to hitting on the normal side, or the correct side, when it comes to the strings and the racket when we hit a serve. I actually want you to use the other side of the strings. And the way you're going to do that, it's basically we're going to be pulling from the drill we just did, where the racket comes around like this. If you look at Isner in this position, the strings that he uses to hit the ball with are actually pointing down. Look at a video of Isner. His strings are pointing down at this point. What we can actually do, because remember the ball was in the throat like this, right? We can actually go up and hit the serve like this. Now, not because we want to do...
Could you say that again?
My Apple Watch, my Apple Watch is talking to me. It said, sorry, can you say that again? I cannot, I'm making a video. So what we can use is this position to actually hit the ball, not in a tournament and not when we're actually playing a match. It's a mechanism for learning to get rid of the waiter's tray. So what I want you to do is feeling that wrist curled over as the racket's coming around in over your head, where a ball could sit in the throat of the racket. I actually want you to use the back of the racket to hit the ball. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a very good serve, but it gets you away from the waiter's tray. So I've got in my mind right now, I'm going to hit some serves, and I'm going to use the back of the racket. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to hit a slice serve, but not on this because I'm hitting the back of the racket. I'm going to start with my racket face slightly open. When I toss, I'm going to try to keep my strings pointing down the whole time, in over my head, and then when I get to here, rather than coming around then on edge and pronating to contact, I'm actually going to embrace this supinated position and hit the back of the strings. I know this is a funny looking drill, but this will absolutely get rid of your waiter's tray, because you know what to do, and you've seen probably many videos of mine or other coaches who are putting content out there. You know that you're supposed to come around on edge, but you're still coming around like this. So we got to do something that gives you the feeling of what you need, not just the info, but the feeling, so your body can copy it over and over again. And this wrist curled position, in over the head, hitting the birthday hat, strings pointing down, coming around and using the back side of the racket, is going to get rid of that waiter's tray where the strings point up. All right, I'm going to hit some serves now. My goal, and I'll show you one in slow motion as well. My goal is that my strings point down as I come around, and right around here, you're not sure if I'm going to use the correct side of the strings or the wrong side of the strings. That's kind of my goal, all right? So I'll do one or two and then I'll show you in slow motion. Now, if you're looking for people in your local area to play matches against or practice with, or if you want to find a coach who's close to you who can help you with your game, then use my link in the description and pinned in the first comment, playyourcourt.com/2minutetennis. When you use my link to sign up, you get 50% off. 4 simple tips. In your mind, stop hitting flat serves and start cutting the ball. Try to get the ball to spin kind of like the earth, right? Or a basketball on a basketball player's finger as they spin it. When you think of curving the ball, that will help you get in the mindset of cutting it rather than hitting flat. Second tip, use the continental grip and have your racket face slightly open when you begin. It'll give you in your mind that feeling of the correct grip, but also that slight wrist flexion rather than wrist extension that is so prevalent in the palm up waiter's tray serve. So have the racket face slightly open as you begin. Watch your favorite tennis player when they begin. Notice that they probably have their strings facing up when they start their serve. Number 3 is learn how to draw a circle with a ball in the throat of the racket. I know it's a bit extreme, but sometimes drills are good that way, that they actually get you completely away from what you're currently doing. So you need a slight wrist bow or a slight wrist flexion in order to make that happen. And when you look at Isner's serve, when he comes around, his strings, remember, are pointing slightly down at this point. And then last, start working on actually hitting a serve with the wrong side of the strings. It'll give you the right feeling that you're looking for in the wrist when you come around. Obviously, you're not going to use the wrong side of the strings when you actually compete or actually playing a match, but it's just to give you the feeling of what it's like to not point your strings to the sky. The goal is that you come around on edge and then you kind of fool the ball and then you think, oh, I'm going to use the wrong side of the strings, and nope, and then at the very end, you turn the racket and you pronate. You work on these 4 simple tips and there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.